G'day guys, I had a question left on one of my projectile motion videos, which was if I am given this equation of motion here, how do I solve for t given that I have a initial velocity? So basically one of the best ways to do this in an exam if you have a calculator with you is to use the quadratic formula. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get us to the point where we were in the last question, which you would need to go to the quadratic formula to solve it. So here we have our equation of motion with the values entered in. So we have our displacement, which is 235 meters. We've got our initial velocity, which is the vertical component of this 69.4 meters per second velocity. And we have our acceleration due to gravity, which is entered in here. So what we first go about doing is we first go about calculating what all of these numbers mean. So we know that that one's still going to stay there, 235. 69.4 sine 15 is 16.67. Half of 9.8 is 4.9. Cool. Now, the way that this quadratic formula works is we have to get this into a quadratic trinomial and make it equal 0. So what I'm going to do is in one step, I'll take the 235 to the right hand side, and I'm going to move the 4.9 t squared to the front of this equation. So we have 4.9 t squared plus 16.67 t minus 235. Great. So now I have my equation in this quadratic trinomial form, and I can use the three coefficients to enter into my quadratic formula. Now hopefully you guys have seen this quadratic formula before, but for those that haven't, the A, B and C all refer to coefficients in the quadratic trinomial. So the basic form of a quadratic trinomial is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. So A, B and C are all coefficients on each of the terms in our quadratic trinomial. So this relates to this here. So what we're going to do is let's just write down what we've got. Well, we know that A is equal to 4.9. We know that B is equal to 16.67. And we know that C is equal to negative 235. Cool. So what we're going to do is we're just going to enter these values into this equation, and we're going to get, and instead of writing t, this can instead of writing x, this can also tell us what t is. Well, what any variable is if it's entered in this particular form. So we're going to say that t is going to be equal to the opposite of b, which is negative 16.67 plus or minus the square root of b squared, so 16.67 squared minus 4 times a, 4.9, times c, which is negative 235, and that's all divided by 2 times a, so 2 times 4.9. Cool. So from here, guys, what we can do is we can stick it all into our calculator. And if you want a middle step, we're going to have this t is going to be equal to negative 16.67 plus or minus. Now, the square root of all of that underneath, because we have a negative and a negative here, they will turn into a positive, and it turns out to be 69.88, all divided by 2 times a, which is 9.8. Cool. Now, we're looking for time here, so when we're doing physics or any kind of applications of quadratic formulas, we have to make sure that the numbers that come out, or the values of t that we solve for, actually make sense in the context of the question. So if we go 16.67 and take 69.88, we're going to get a negative number. And so in this case, we have to make sure that time is always greater than or equal to 0. So the subtract 69.88, that kind of rules out that option. So what we're going to do is we're going to go, well, t is going to be equal to negative 16.67, add 69.88, and we're going to divide that by 9.8. We put that into our calculator, and we get t is equal to 5.43 seconds. Cool. So basically what we have to do, guys, to solve a problem like this is, first of all, we have to enter in all of our values. I like to transform the function so it takes on this ax squared plus bx plus c form. So this and this are basically equivalent. Then from there we can substitute the letters that we have, which we came out as these ones, into this formula here. And once we've done that, guys, it's just a matter of making sure that we don't make any mistakes with our negative signs and we enter it all into the calculator correctly. And Bob's your uncle, we come out with an answer that makes sense. So I hope this quick video helped. If it did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel. I put out new videos all the time. But yeah, until next time, guys, if you want to practice these, you can just make sure that you're doing the projectile motion questions without a calculator or without a graphical solving calculator. And, that'll give you ample practice in sort of solving these equations of motion using the quadratic formula. So again, guys, just keep practicing, and I hope to see you here soon.